You've been taught to believe that kindness is strength, but sometimes it turns into chains, trapping your energy and power. Today, you'll learn how to recognize when your habits of doing good truly serve you, and when they instead enslave you to others' expectations, and why this insight can change the way you act in life. When a person does good expecting gratitude in return, they have already made a transaction, not a gesture. Goodness that seeks recognition is never free. It needs an audience to prove its own significance. Here lies the first crack. Instead of relying on inner dignity, a person chooses dependence on external approval. Imagine a scene from the early 20th century, an old pharmacist in a provincial town giving medicines to the poor for free. He does this for years, but one day notices that people no longer thank him. They take it for granted. And suddenly irritation awakens in him instead of compassion. He realizes that all this time he hasn't been helping, he has been bargaining for respect, for the glory of being a good person, for the illusion of his own importance. He hasn't changed, he just sees himself without the mirror of others' words. Carl Jung once said, "What we do not become conscious of, we are destined to live out." This applies to kindness as well. Unconscious kindness turns a person into a prisoner of their own image. They spend their life proving they are worthy of praise and call it generosity. But true generosity is an action that requires no gratitude because it is carried out for the purity of the intention itself. Most people make one mistake. They confuse recognition with truth. They think that gratitude validates their worth and silence diminishes it. In reality, others' gratitude is merely a reflection of their state, not your essence. When a deed becomes a means for praise, a person quietly loses respect for themselves. They begin to depend on those who are meant to be mere witnesses. Practically speaking, this awareness requires courage. Do good, but do not bind it to how others will react. Help when you feel it is necessary, but expect nothing in return, not even understanding. When kindness does not demand reward, it becomes inner discipline, a display of mastery over oneself. You remain calm even if unnoticed, because the true act bears witness to itself. Those who stop expecting gratitude cease to be pawns in others' games. They act not for a response, but for the order they choose themselves. This is true freedom, to do right not because you will be praised, but because you cannot act otherwise. Such kindness needs no words. It is like a quiet power that does not prove its existence, yet is always felt. And if you understand this, you are already above those who still measure their deeds by someone else's thank you. When you give in to keep the peace at any cost. Sometimes the desire for peace becomes the most insidious form of surrender. A person yields not because they are wise, but because they fear shattering the illusion of calm. They call it peacemaking, but in reality it is only fear of clarity. Peace purchased through concession is like water in which the will dissolves. And the longer a person chooses silence, the less audible their own voice becomes. Imagine a room in an old house at the turn of the 20th century. Around a long oak table sits a family where the father is always right. He speaks loudly, the others listen quietly, nodding to avoid disturbing the evening's order. Only the youngest son, clenching his fists under the table, decides for the first time to speak what everyone else fears to voice. And in that moment, the air changes. Tension enters the house, but so does truth. The others feel that for the first time in many years, someone is breathing authentically. This moment may seem insignificant, yet it shapes destinies, because silence sold for peace slowly transforms a person into a shadow. Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Hell is other people, but not because others torment us, because we let them define the boundaries of what is permissible." When a person constantly gives in to maintain the appearance of harmony, they stop being a participant in life and become its decoration. Concession born of cowardice does not strengthen relationships, it makes them fake. Most people make the mistake of believing conflict destroys. But in truth, it is not conflict that destroys, but its absence. when everything has long decayed but still looks peaceful. A person who constantly seeks quiet stops hearing the truth. For a world without truth is merely a pause before decay. Practically, this awareness requires discipline. If you feel you are yielding, not out of respect, but out of fear, stop. Do not rush to agree for the sake of calm. It is better to let the space around you temporarily hold sharp edges than to settle for silence in which your will disappears. Learn to endure tension. It hardens clarity. There is an ancient justice in this. Only those who are not afraid to disrupt calm can create it anew on different foundations. Peace built on concessions is always fragile, but peace born from honesty endures for centuries. And when you realize this difference, it becomes clear. Not all silence is wisdom, and not all conflict is destruction. Sometimes it is confrontation that returns breath to the world and a face to the person. When you help someone who hasn't asked, there is nothing more humiliating than unsolicited help. Within it lies the shadow of arrogance, the desire to demonstrate one's superiority under the guise of kindness. When a person rushes to save another without invitation, they are not saving, they are asserting their own power. This is not care, it is a form of dominance wrapped in politeness. Imagine a foggy European city at the turn of the 20th century. On the cobblestones sits an old man who has spent his life repairing shoes. A passerby, noticing his worn coat, decides to show generosity, placing a coin beside him without a word. The old man silently picks it up, returns it, and says, "I mend shoes, not destinies." And he walks away, preserving what is more valuable than money, his dignity. The one who wanted to help is left standing, empty-handed, not understanding why their good deed was rejected. Hannah Arendt wrote, "Pity is a form of contempt disguised as virtue." These words serve as a mirror for those who strive to be saviors. Most people make the mistake of thinking that any help is good, but not every intervention is an act of kindness. When you decide for someone else what they need, you take away their right to be the author of their own life. This is not support, it is intrusion. Imposed help always humiliates. It sends a hidden message: you cannot manage without me. And the one who receives it often feels inner irritation later, not knowing why. Within this irritation lies the desire to reclaim lost power over one's own destiny. That is why the wise do not rush to intervene. They understand. Premature help steals a person's experience, their inner resilience, their personal journey. Practically speaking, true strength lies in enduring another's weakness without destroying their autonomy. If someone is drowning and you are certain that your help is needed, not imposed, then act. But if a person is simply walking their own path, making mistakes, falling, remain silent. Let them ask. In their request will arise respect, and in your action, meaning. Applying this principle is both simple and difficult. Before extending a hand, ask yourself, are you helping for their sake or for yours? If honestly it is for yourself, step back. True kindness begins where the desire to prove your necessity disappears. Those who can resist the urge to rush in to save understand the deep order of the world. People grow not through given advice, but through lived mistakes. Intervening in this process is like picking a fruit before it is ripe, outwardly generous, but essentially useless. When you learn to distinguish where help is appropriate and where it steals freedom, you will act with the precision of a warrior, not the impulse of a rescuer. This awareness makes a person calm and confident because they no longer play the role of a benevolent God meddling in others' destinies. They simply respect another's path, and that respect is the rarest form of kindness, available only to those who understand the true value of strength. When your politeness conceals indifference. Politeness that hides indifference is one of the most insidious deceptions of human life. It appears as respect, yet within it there is neither warmth nor engagement. It is merely a reflection of the habit of conforming to social expectations. Where true kindness acts quietly and without applause, the social mask operates for outward impression. A person dressed in such politeness wears armor, smooth, shiny, but hollow. Imagine the office of an old lawyer at the turn of the 20th century. Evening, fog drapes the streets. Candles barely illuminate piles of papers. A client speaks of their troubles. The lawyer nods, repeats standard formulas of sympathy, but his gaze wanders. There is no interest. The client leaves believing they have been heard, yet in reality, they are alone. And no one notices that outward agreement cannot replace true engagement. The same situation could have led to different outcomes. Truth, spoken quietly and directly, could have changed a life. But the mask merely reinforces the illusion of understanding, giving neither the person nor the world anything real. Hannah Arendt said, "Indifference is not the absence of opinion, but the absence of relation." This echoes the idea that every measured smile and polite phrase tells more about fear of rejection than about you. Most people confuse manners with substance. They assume that formality and a gentle tone can replace the power of words and the force of action. But this mistake leads to emptiness. People remain around you, but trust vanishes, influence fades, and the world perceives you as a shadow. Practically, this means before you smile, nod, or utter a standard phrase, ask yourself, is there genuine connection with another, or is this a habitual performance? Respect, help, words, they must be directed not at conforming to norms, but at expressing real interest, bringing clarity, or taking action with consequences. When you remove the mask, people respond to substance, not illusion. Those who master this awareness stop wasting time and energy on empty forms. They speak plainly, act directly, and this makes them a silent yet palpable presence in any space. Politeness becomes a tool, not a substitution. Every gesture gains weight, every word gains meaning, and one becomes aware of the power most lose by hiding behind pretty words. True kindness requires no validation. It is visible where masks no longer work, and it is this understanding that makes a person's presence substantial and untouchable. Remember, true strength is not in pleasing everyone or concealing indifference with politeness, but in honesty with yourself and others. Let every action be precise and conscious, not dictated by the expectations of others' eyes. Maintain clarity, act with intention, and watch as respect arises around you. Respect that cannot be won with words alone. May this perspective help you see essence, not facade, and guide your actions toward true freedom and strength.